afternoon. Today is Monday, November the 4th. This Committee of Finance, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Here.
Canwell, Airstone. Casey.
Present.
Valencia, Santana, Spencer. Present. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We got a couple of pieces by finance. If they could come, and then economic development, we'll go straight into economic development. They have guests there. All right, thank you. This is ordinance number 1216-2024 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance to make additional appropriations of $450,000 to the enterprise fund. Director. Let me see right there.
Through the chair to the council, committee members. Public auditorium, we're asking that we increase their budget and payroll and benefits by $450,000. Once the West Side Market transferred to the management company, there was 3 employees mid-year that had to be shifted over to the West Side Market. Also, there's been a lot more events at the public auditorium this year, so the seasonal, the overtime is up at the public auditorium. In addition, the Cleveland Charge they've started renovating it for the Cleveland Charge. So there's been a lot of additional expenses and payroll and benefits with the trades and other folks that work at the public auditorium. So we're asking an approval to increase the appropriation measure at public auditorium for benefits and payroll by $450,000.
Thank you. And just as a clarification, you meant transferred out of the market to public auditorium, correct?
Yeah, through the chair of the council. Yes, there's 3 people. I'm sorry, 3 people at the market.
West Side Market to public auditorium.
Correct. So
Right,
I might have switched that.
No,
Sorry.
so I just want to make sure we're clear on
Yes,
that.
thank you.
And do you have a list of those employees or of the shifted employees that were being asked to move?
The supervisor of the market.
If you wouldn't mind just speaking to that mic right there.
Through the chair, that's the Felicia Hall. She's the manager of the market, and then there's another supervisor of markets, and I forget the one other position, but
Okay.
I
We
could
can
get
get
that
you a
for you.
list.
Okay, and will all be working within public auditorium, is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, they're currently working there right now.
Got it, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so this is 450,000, and is this the same amount that was going to the market, or is this more? Are you familiar with these staff positions?
Through the chair, this accommodates a few things. One is these 3 employees, which is not $450,000. There's some additional costs there. They've had more events at the public auditorium
Okay.
this year. The Cleveland Charge is there, so they've been doing a lot of work in there, and they have to have tradesmen there while they're
Okay.
doing this work. So it's a combination of the 3 employees from West Side Market, as well as the additional activity
Because
that
of,
requires.
well, I'm glad that and my council colleague to my right talks about this all the time. I'm glad we're starting to activate that beautiful asset over there more
Absolutely.
frequently. What questions do I have? Councilman Casey.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to our comptroller, right? That's your title? Is that?
Through the chair, no, we have a new comptroller. I'm actually administrative manager in finance now.
All right, to the
Okay.
administrative manager of finance, Mr. Gentile.
Yes.
Where's
Yes,
the
sir.
money coming from?
Through the chair to the council person, we had budgeted a subsidy out of the general fund for parking, but parking is coming in. That's why you don't see a transfer in like you normally would. We're not going to need that transfer to parking because parking revenue is coming in. So we're basically going to use that subsidy that was going to go to parking to go to public auditorium. So this will not impact the general fund anymore, other than substituting the subsidy that was going to go to the parking division.
So if I'm hearing correct, we have an overage in what we thought we were going to get in parking revenue, and we're just taking that money from the general, because parking is general fund dollars, right? Or is
We're gonna
parking,
do-
parking enterprise?
Yeah, through the chair to the council person, we had budgeted a subsidy out of the general fund. We thought we were going to have a shortfall in parking. We're not going to have that shortfall because they're doing well and they're parking revenue. So we're not going to have to transfer money from the general fund to parking. that'll allow us to take that transfer and put it into the public auditorium.
So these are general fund dollars that are going to subsidize the enterprise fund.
Through the chair of the councilperson, that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Mike Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Gentile. So this will increase the overall subsidy to the convention center to how much?
What's the original amount? Through the chair of the councilperson, it was at 1.2, so this will make it 1.65.
Yeah, we're subsidizing the facility.
Through the chair of the councilperson, that's correct.
So even with the increased activity there, you're not seeing any increase in revenue?
Through the chair of the councilperson, I mean, we will start seeing an increase in revenue, especially with the charge paying rent. So our subsidies going forward should start to reduce. Right now, we're looking at needing $450,000 to balance out this year for the public auditorium.
Okay. So the 3 people that have been moved over from the West Side Market to the convention center, or public hall. If you would provide to us who they are, what their new positions are, and if their salary has changed from the West Side Market to public hall.
Through the chair of the councilperson, yes, we'll get you that. Their salaries did not change. It was a lateral transfer. We'll get you all the information so
Okay.
you have it all.
Okay. And so then, just to wrap it up, is that, we were told when we passed legislation for the, and I'm trying to think, what's the team over there? What is it?
The charge.
The charge, that obviously there would be an increase in revenue. So when did they actually start?
Through the chair of the councilperson, I believe they're starting to play there in December. So
Okay.
we'll
Oh,
start
so they
getting-
haven't started yet?
No, they're renovating.
Okay, okay.
the area.
So so as we go into the budget round, you need to be careful, get ready, because we're going to be asking these kind of questions about revenue that's coming back to the city. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding 1216-2024? Seeing no other questions, 1216-2024 will be heard for consideration by the entire
All right,
body.
thank you.
Thank you. Next is HR 1217-2024. If HR could join us at the table. Ordinance number 1217-2024 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance to amend sections 5, 8, 25, 30, 34, 36, and 40 to 40 and 42 of ordinance number 194-2021 passed March 29, 2021, as amended, relating to salaries for various classifications. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, please introduce yourself and tell us what this is.
Matt Cole, Director of Human Resources, and with me is Rashawn Long, Director of Civil Service.
All right, share with us what we got here.
Thank you, Chairman. This piece of legislation is to make several changes to the pay band, specifically several sections related to a ongoing project that Director Long can give some more detail to. My section specifically that I'm going to address today is related to Section 25 of the pay band. This is to make several amendments to the classifications and minimum and maximum rates as prescribed in the collective bargaining agreement for Local 39. Specifically to highlight, there's the addition of many classifications that are outlined in the collective bargaining agreement, in the newest collective bargaining agreement, that are not in the pay band. There are several deletions from positions that were either renamed or removed. And then one other thing of note is that in part due to some conversation that previously was had with city council is to start amending all the minimums in addition to the maximums. And then the maximum rates do have a rounding of 0.05%, 1.5%, excuse me, just to make sure that there's no rounding issues when these are actually applied.
Rashad?
Through the chair to council members, I have several payment updates that I am amending. So the first is Section 5, private secretary to the director under the charter should be an unclassified position. So we are taking that position out of the classified section and moving it to an unclassified section, Section 5. Civil service is actually going through several job classification assessments, and a part of that cleanup is assistant commissioner and deputy commissioner. So as opposed to having several assistant commissioner classifications and deputy commissioner classifications, we're going to make just one general assistant commissioner and one general deputy commissioner classification, and then reclassifying those employees in those positions to that position. So there will be no effect to their seniority, rate of pay, anything like that. Section 8, which is Local 100, we have the creation of vital statistics specialists, which is through Local 100 collective bargaining. Those are new classifications under their collective bargaining unit. Director Cole has gone over Section 25, that is relative to Local 39 changes. And then the only other change not relative to assistant commissioner or deputy commissioners in Section 38, changing human resources program planning and administrator just to simply human resources administrator. Okay, I think I got everything.
All right, is that it?
If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer questions.
So just out of curiosity, why was this needed again? Why was just, I think it was about 5 positions that you said you needed to reclassify? Why were they needed to be reclassified?
So as we engage into transitioning to our human capital management system, there is a lot of extensive cleanup that needs to be done. And historically, you know, when we make changes to the duty statement, meaning change in classification, whatever it may be, that those changes never occur in the pay band ordinance. There's never been any cleanup of the pay band ordinance. So we're just trying to be proactive so that we have good information that we're building into this new system.
Yeah, to the chair, I think we'd like to keep moving forward and cleaning it up, both with changes that happen from Director Long's department in civil service, as well as any other collective bargaining agreements that come forth, just to make sure that it's as accurate as possible.
Okay. And how many commissioners do you have now? How many is this reducing the assistant commissioners? It sounded like you reduced the classification of assistant commissioners, and that seems to be a trend. Why is that taking place?
We're not reducing the classifications, we're just eliminating the specific classifications. For instance, Assistant Commissioner of Water, Assistant Commissioner of CPP, Assistant Commissioner of Parks and Recreation, we're just making a general Assistant Commissioner position. So we're not downsizing, we're just cleaning up the language.
So let me make sure I understand this. If a department has 4 commissioners right now, you now are changing it from assistant commissioner to just, what is it again?
So departments typically have their own assistant commissioner of public works, assistant commissioner of water, assistant commissioner of,
And that's where I'm trying to go to, apologize. So you won't have assistant commissioners that have direct responsibility over some of those issues, of some of those areas?
No, we're just getting rid of the specified titles and making it assistant commissioner. That's it.
Okay. But then how does that help us understand the flow of the work and who's responsible in the commissioner's level?
It doesn't change the workflow, it doesn't change anything, because they'll still be able to use the working title if that's what they choose to do.
Okay. Councilman Palencia?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, and to the director and to the representatives here from Civil Service and Personnel, Human Resources. I'm still confused there. These classifications have been in existence for how long?
I really, through the chair, cannot answer that question. Probably many years, but a lot of those classifications that are being archived are not in use.
Okay. So you're telling us right now, these assistant commissioners in the various departments and divisions, that some of those are not filled?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Is any of the action you're taking here today remove civil service?
No, it does not, through the chair.
So none of these positions, these assistant commissioners, they're not at will, you're not making them at will employees, correct?
Through the chair, correct.
Okay. So you're removing how many positions? You're changing how many? See, because there's no synopsis with this. We're just looking at the legislation here, so there's no summary, no explanation here that I can see.
There should be a summary on your tablet.
Wait a minute, I'm looking right now.
Is it on the tablet, Inez? Mike, this is all I got.
Okay.
That's it right there. That's all good. Listen, can the administration start giving us a damn summary?
Yeah, I know.
I'm tired of coming to council meeting every damn week, and I got to go through this. Please give us an explanation so that we ain't trying to figure out stuff at the table.
Yeah.
It's a simple request. Any director that comes to the table, have a summary. Have something written.
To the chairman, we actually did forward a pretty comprehensive summary, not once but twice, related to this
And then,
piece.
do we have the summary? Somehow we don't have the summary. do
Yeah,
we?
we don't have it.
All right, that's the issue. I don't know why we're not getting good information. So somebody needs to
So
make sure.
that's why, Mr. Chairman, I'm very hesitant on this because civil service has always been the insurance policies protection for city employees. And I know there's been efforts in the past to do away with commissioners and make them management and make them supervisors or make them some other title and take away their civil service protection. I just want to make sure that what I'm looking at and what we're being asked to vote on does not do that.
Through the chair to the councilman, this is in no way an attempt to do that or remove a civil service status or classification. What this is doing is making the civil service position a general commissioner, assistant commissioner position. It doesn't change their working title. It doesn't change their duties. It doesn't change their role within the departments. What it does do, though, is take away individual civil service classifications that, one, are no longer in use, but actually on the flip side could expand the role of the classification within various departments using different working titles. It's actually best practice. It's taking away individualizing positions and making it a position which has far more flexibility.
Okay, so then, like, number 4, under classification number 4, secretary to the director, you've got, there's highlight in blue, department. So you're removing the department? Is that what you're doing?
You're in section 5 through the chair, too.
That's number 4 under classification, under section 5, yes. So you're taking out the name department? What's the blue highlights? What's the blue highlights in these?
The blue highlight, private secretary to the director, is what's being added to section 5 through the chair.
So you're adding a private secretary?
Yes, to reflect an unclassified status, yes.
Is that, there's no position there now? That's a new position you're creating?
it's not new, was previously considered classified. So it's being removed from the classified section to unclassified.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. That's just what I'm saying. What other positions are being removed,
So
from classified?
Through the chair to council, we've
unclassified.
submitted 2 extensive summaries, so I'm not sure what else I can say. These were provided.
Mr. Chairman, I think that this should be held until we can get a better understanding of this, because I'm not about to remove classified positions. I'm not about to vote for that. And then you're creating private secretary to director, that's $100,000, maximum of $100,000. That's a new position, correct?
Through the chair, it's not a new position. It's considered classified, and under the charter, it should be unclassified because it serves as the secretary to the director of a department. So it should not be
Okay.
classified. It
Mr.
should
Chairman,
be
I
unclassified.
suggest that, as you have indicated, and I totally concur with you, when they come to the table, there needs to be a clear explanation as to what's taking place here. That's where I'm at.
Brian Casey, and then Carrie McCormick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to our director, and are any of the positions that you're eliminating here, any of the titles, are they filled positions right now?
Through the chair to council, we're not eliminating the position. We're simply trying to clean up the language so that we don't have 20 deputy commissioners when we can use one general title. So anybody that's currently in a deputy commissioner position, which I believe there are 5 individuals, they would simply be reclassified deputy commissioner instead of deputy commissioner of Port or deputy commissioner of WPC. So we're not eliminating the head count or the classification. We're just getting rid of, some of the unused titles that haven't been used in years.
Well, Mr. Chairman, to our presenters, I look at this piece of legislation, and when there's a line through the classification, a line through the minimum, and a line through the maximum, traditionally, that means that position's being eliminated, right? But I don't see anything being added, like just your commissioner, unless
Okay.
I can't find it. And
All right,
so
understood.
what happens if we'll just say, there's a deputy commissioner or assistant commissioner to water pollution control, Cleveland Public Power. That individual's not losing his job or her job. What then, are they just reclassified as something?
So through the chair to council, section 42, number 4 is the deputy commissioner classification that will replace, the ones that are being archived. Section 37, number 3 will become assistant commissioner.
And Mr. Chairman, to our presenters, how is this going to make civil service or human resources any better?
Yes. Through the chair to council, it's a part of our modernization and job classification assessment. I mean, we simply just don't need all these titles. And when you look at the extensive work that we have to do to build this into the human capital management system, it's really the best practice. I mean, especially when you look at, I can use the best example, probably the county, how they have their job classifications in clusters, as opposed to all these separate individual titles.
All right, Mr. Chairman, to our directors, how many positions in this piece of legislation are you eliminating? Or how many titles are you eliminating?
While the director looks at that through the chair to the councilman, I guess I would add too that, when we started this project, I believe there was something like 865 classifications in the duty statement. We don't have anywhere near the use for 865 classifications. So to Director Long's point, I mean, we're trying to bring things up to date and use a system that is also not only going to be better for the new HCM coming in, but, moving ahead, just in overall classification review. And quite honestly, just to, I guess, stress this point again, is it actually gives more flexibility under civil service rather than less, because there's one position that could have a multitude of working titles under any of the departments. So it's not pigeonholing into specific positions, but rather one general civil service classification that could have a multitude of working titles.
Through the chair to Councilman Casey, Deputy Commissioner will be archiving 13 positions, replacing with 1, and then Assistant Commissioner will be archiving 10, replacing with 1.
So you're going from, and this is where it gets confusing, Mr. Chairman, to our directors, is that you're eliminating 13 positions, or if you have a title, that means you have a position, and you're replacing it with 1. Right? So you're eliminating 10 positions and you're replacing it with 1. So with this legislation, it looks like you're eliminating 23, Mr. Chairman, to the directors, it looks like you're eliminating 23 positions and replacing them with 2. Are all 23 of those positions that you're eliminating filled?
Through the chair, the councilman, no.
How many are filled, Mr. Chairman, to the directors?
Oh, right here.
President Marcotte.
Through the chair to the councilman, so for the deputy commissioner, there are 6 filled. And for the assistant commissioner position, there are 5 filled. So 6 of 13. And
So,
5
Mr.
of
Chairman,
10.
to the directors, what happens to the other 9 people?
Through the chair to council, there aren't people in those positions.
All right, Mr. Chairman, to the directors. I just asked, of the 13 deputy commissioners, how many were filled? You said 6. So currently we have 6 deputy commissioners employed. Mr. Chairman, to the directors, I also asked assistant commissioners, you said there's 10 positions, there's 5 filled. So of the 23 positions that you want to eliminate, we have 11 filled. Okay? You want to take that down, those 23, you want to take it down to 2. So of the 11 that are filled, and we're taking it down to 2, what happens to those other 9 employees?
Through the chair to the councilman, nothing happens to any employees.
Then, Mr. Chairman, this is where it gets confusing, and
There's no effect to employment.
I get that, but you just said that there's a total of 11 employees in the 23 positions, right? And you're taking those 23 positions down to 2 positions. Okay, so I will just be under the assumption that 2 people are, that one deputy commissioner is moving over, 1 assistant commissioner is moving over. So that leaves 5 deputy commissioners without a title and 4 assistant commissioners without titles. So what happens to those 9 individuals that are now without titles or positions? Because we're eliminating them.
Through the chair of the councilman, they either go into assistant commissioner or deputy commissioner titles. They go into one or the other, all of them.
Mr. Chairman,
one
I'm with
general-
Councilman Polensek on this one. Thank you.
Councilman McCormick. Director, let me say this. First of all, I always try to make sure that I'm always going to be professional, so excuse any outbursts I may have. These things are very complicated, and what I will tell you is that I did get an email on Friday. The rest of the council didn't get an email, okay? I'm reading it now, that there was an extensive explanation that was given. I will encourage everybody that we make sure that the clerk has these so that all of council should have been able to have this and had the weekend to read over this. Unfortunately, I had 600 emails. This was like a needle in a haystack. So I'll take responsibility of that, but I am going to hold back on this until we meet again for another week. pieces that come from finance have a lot of questions, and we wind up finding out that departments are being reorganized and being restructured through these movements. And I understand what you're trying to do. I appreciate you trying to clean up the language about making it match the charter, but we need to make sure that we have a good explanation. So what I'll do is I'll hold this, and then we'll make sure, if we could, this needs to go out to all of council. This is from Ms. Long on Friday, November the 1st, and it went strictly to me and Alan Dreyer. So it did not go to the entire body. So can we make sure that the entire body gets this so that everybody can review this, ask questions for anything that they want to say? I will take partial blame for that, but we'll make sure that everybody gets that information. And if anybody has any questions about this, please feel free to reach out so that we can get clarification from the policy team, from Ms. Long and Director Cole, okay? Thank you. Appreciate it. We're going to hold this until next time. Thank you. Economic development. They have a guest that's at the table. Yeah, you gotta be prepared. It ain't my job to come and help make sure everybody understands.
It came with gifts. It was like, this is what's up on the screen.
Okay, so we're going to go with ordinance number 1169-2024 by council members Hairston and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with Greater Cleveland Media Development Corporation, DBA, Greater Cleveland Film Commission, or its designee, to assist with the general operating expenses of the organization.
Thank you.
Mr. McNair.
Thank you, Council President, members of the committee. I am joined here today by Bill Garvey, the President, and Lowell Perry, the Chief Diversity Officer of the Greater Cleveland Film Commission, discussing operating grant for the Film Commission, the amount of $250,000. We've talked a lot about these grants. This is an organization we've been supporting for a number of years. I will say, this summer I had a meeting on the books one day with an industrial tenant that is looking to work here, and I got a phone call that said they need to move that meeting off-site. And I said, great, and so went out there, and they said, I don't know what is happening, but I turned onto Lakeside Avenue earlier today, and all these black vans converged around City Hall, and guys got out with guns. And he goes, I don't know if it was the FBI, I don't know what was going on. That day we were Metropolis City Hall, and that was the filming of Superman. But I think, if you look at the work that the Film Commission has done over the course, we've asked them to dig a little bit more into the numbers of how this directly benefits the city of Cleveland. $77.8 million spent in Cleveland and Northeast Ohio. That equates to 20,711 room nights that are directly associated with films that are being produced here. Most importantly, $1.15 million in estimated income tax revenue to the city, which represents a 4 times investment on what we put out. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Garvey to talk briefly about the work that the Film Commission has done over the past year.
Thank you, Director McNair. Bill Garvey here, Cleveland Film Commission. Thank you, Councilman Griffin. Not only does our work produce income tax for revenue for the city, but also sales tax. So there is an equal amount of that that's going into the county, and obviously to local vendors to the tune of 406 on just 2 productions out of the 6 that have been completed so far this year. We are still waiting on some audits and some economic impact reports that will add to these numbers. So these are minimum numbers for our the result of our impact this year, with $208 million total production budget booked for the next year and a half. So 77.8 is what's been spent so far, with another 128 some odd million dollars more to come in the coming months. And that's real jobs for locals, and part of what our work does is not only go out to attract this work to come to Ohio, because it's not just coming on its own. We actually have to go out and pitch and win the business, and we're competing against 37 other states that do this work. But also then its workforce, because they're not going to come unless we generate the workforce to hire when they're here. They don't want to bring in everybody. And so we've developed a massive amount of workforce training programs in partnership with Universal Pictures. We developed our Business of Film program that trains on how to do every one of the jobs in the movie business, the base level knowledge that goes into that work, because that is the goal here, to get jobs for local Clevelanders to work in this industry that's grown by more than double in the last decade. And with the expansion this year of the Ohio Motion Picture Tax Credit, which we were working very hard towards, there is more opportunity coming, but we need that workforce. So we've built out these training programs, and you'll see in your packets a lot mentioned about those workforce training programs that we've created. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
All right, thank you. How long have you been receiving this $250,000?
This would be the 9th year that it's been at that level.
So one of the things that we've been talking to Director McNair about is we have these, I think, Director, you have about $5 million for several, but it's about 8 different organizations that receive from this small pot. Or how many organizations come from out of that small pot?
Council President, so we receive an allocation of $3 million annually from council. Of that $3 million, about $1.8 million goes into operating support for these various organizations spread across 12 organizations.
All right, one of the things we have been talking about, because there is council actually wants to do more, wants to be helpful for the Greater Cleveland Film Commission and a couple of these organizations. We want to understand what may be reasonable, because in this upcoming budget deliberations, we may need to see what we need to do to increase that pot. Of course, everything is a conversation, negotiation, but I do want to put in that plug as we're developing the budget right now. So $250,000 over 9 years with inflation and everything else can definitely be helpful to get more, especially if we're trying to attract more, because the movie credit at the state level has been done. So please put a note to that. I don't like making adjustments this late in the year, but I do want to consider for the upcoming budget that we actually look at increasing that pot so that we could do more for groups like the Greater Cleveland Film Commission. Okay? All right, Councilman Mike Palencia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, and to the director and to the representatives of the Film Commission. Years ago, when they first talked about coming into Cleveland, the economic impact for some of the films, I quite frankly, I don't want to say question it, but I was one of those doubters. But then when I appeared, when I was invited to come over and look at one of the Avenger movies that were taking place, and I looked at all the support folks, the electricians and the carpenters and the people bringing in vehicles and the people preparing food, realizing that they have to feed people around the clock. And then I just stood on the set and I start to look at, I'm thinking, wait a minute, these folks have to stay somewhere. They have to eat. So I started really to crunch in my own brain how critical and how important it was to bring in as many of these venues. Now, I know there are people working in downtown who haven't been too happy at times because of the disruptions. We understand that. But it's clear to me, we saw it with the NCAA, with the women's Final Four, how the hotels were filled up, how that impacted our bottom line. So, Mr. Chairman, I concur with you. I think anything we do to support this process to bring these film makers in, these productions into the city, only helps all of our businesses, because there is a spinoff, there is a domino effect. My only question would be is this. You've indicated at the table that we are competitive against 38 other states?
37, yeah.
37 other states. So why Cleveland? What makes Cleveland attractable to a film, to a producer, to the folks who are going to put together a movie outside of the Russo brothers having roots here? And we certainly appreciate their interest and their engagement in our city. So what's the draw here, or how do we become more competitive?
To the council and through the chair, this is a question I love answering because it goes to my wheelhouse. So I was a location scout and manager in this business before coming to the Film Commission for 26 years. I've done this work all over the country, and when I got to Cleveland, I stopped. And I set up shop here because this is the mecca. In my opinion, this is Shangri-La for filmmakers because of our architecture, because of our topography, because of our logistics, because of our cost of production, because of that beautiful big body of water outside those windows.
Okay.
We have it all here. We can do almost any look, and we have over the course of the last 15 years. That's why 300 productions have come to Ohio over that time, because we do that great. We're so competitive in that arena, and that's very important. Obviously, the aesthetic of the movie is half the movie. Now we have a tax credit to match. So imagine what we can do with double the tax credit we used to have. So that's why I'm so optimistic about this business right here. That's why this business is so attractive to filmmakers, and that's why we're going to have a lot of good things to come.
And so with the state tax credit is how much now?
It's just gone up to 75 million.
75?
75 a year. Yes.
Okay. And you think that's been a big reason for the jump or interest?
The film business is built around production tax credit.
Yeah.
Once you shut that off, it goes away instantly.
Okay.
We've had productions that apply, don't get it, want to come here, have a storyline built around frankly, our climate, winter storylines, and we're forced to go somewhere else. And
Yeah.
I've lost movies to Louisiana that had to rewrite the movie because the tax credit is that important.
Okay. And I think that's important for us to know, because we lobbied here for the tax credit in Columbus. The only thing I would ask is the police, please keep council apprised and notified is when, especially as it pertains to when they look for extras, when they look for outside businesses, suppliers and vendors, because we have a lot of talented people in our neighborhoods, and we want to make sure that all of our folks have access. And that's why I mentioned, I'm really appreciative the Russo brothers for their interest in Cleveland, because I can remember their father bringing them down here when they were kids. I know the family. And I would have never thought that someday that these two guys would be, at the top of their game in production and directing, et cetera, et cetera. So they've done wonders for the city, and I just think we need to figure out how to multiply or magnify this so we can really benefit more in the future. So I'm here to be supportive, Mr. Chairman.
If I may, to the councilman through the chair. So our workforce development programs, Councilman Hairston, who was here earlier last year, brought this up, and I think we've been very intentional this year about reaching out more to the council folks to get the workforce development piece out there, because we're doing multiple training programs per year now. And getting that message out, because we're doing them for free, and that's where the opportunity lies. If we can connect Clevelanders with this, and it's a minimum amount of training. And this is not a career that you need a college degree to do very successfully. And we will continue to get that message out, and also the vendor opportunities too. So we've been doing vendor and workforce training all year long, and honestly, it is a minimum barrier to entry, and these are vendor opportunities that, it's not that you have to be in the film business to take advantage of the film business economy. These are locksmiths and plumbers and, regular mom and pop small businesses that can take
Right.
advantage of this.
Thank you.
All right, Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. Support this ordinance. Chair to the Director, CEO, what is your title?
President.
President. What is the conversation right now in Columbus about further expansion of the tax credit? Is there any conversation like Georgia with unlimited? Can you brief us quickly on what that conversation
Sure.
is?
To the councilman through the chair. So there is SB 283, which would increase our cap yet again to 100 million, and then kind of reorganize some efficiencies, make it a little bit more business friendly in the review process, so to shorten that period of time, make us more competitive. So SB 283, it's been introduced in the Senate. We are highly endorsing it, and hopeful that it'll pass in either the budget or in shortly in name duck.
Okay, thank you. And has anyone studied Georgia's unlimited cap? I mean, is that feasible? Is there any interest in that?
to the councilman through the chair, everybody's studying Georgia's cap and the effects of it. 4.4 billion in direct spend. That's not economic multipliers. That's not voodoo economics. That's direct spend. $4.4 billion last year
In Georgia last
in
year
Georgia,
alone.
all due to their uncapped production
So are
tax
they
credit.
showing that the tax credit return is getting an ROI on direct spend, I'd imagine?
Yes, and then some, and that's why everybody else is paying attention.
Okay, thank you.
And that's why Europe and we have 106 countries throughout the world that have a production tax credit right now because of successes like Georgia.
All right, seeing no other question, Councilwoman Moore? Oh, Councilwoman Spencer and Councilwoman Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think a lot of my questions have already been answered about status of advocacy and the state tax credit. And I just noted, though, that a couple questions through the chair to Director McNair. This is for operating expenses between July 1, 2024 and June 30, 2025. Is there a reason this piece doesn't come to us earlier in the year since we're already well into past the first quarter of that period of time?
So through the chair to Councilwoman Spencer, this is a conversation I've had with Mr. Garvey. There was a period of time where that is when they came through, much earlier in the year. I think that was slowed down, and as I've told you, I kind of got here, the current funding of all these organizations that we get, it's both not sustainable them or for us, right? And so we have been doing a lot of work trying to better understand the value of each one of these organizations. And I think that we are hopeful that heading into next year that we have kind of a new process and kind of start that clock at a much sooner rate.
Great. And then a follow-up question through the chair. How many organizations currently receive this type of funding from the city?
Through the chair to Councilwoman Spencer, I believe 12, and they range in size from $50,000 all the way up to $500,000.
If it's not too much to ask, I think it could be beneficial for council to just see that as all one snapshot, so we kind of have a handle on, because we tend to see things as standalone pieces of legislation. I think that'd be beneficial to see the big picture.
I do have it in a Word doc. It is coming. That was one of your requests, and we're also putting together a thumb drive with some of the correlating information for you to look at.
Absolutely, that's what I was going to say. I know that we had that request in already, so we should be getting that whole spelled out. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Sure. And then my one other question would be through the chair to the director or to Mr. Garvey is, so this 250,000 request has been flat for 9 years. It hasn't gotten bigger or smaller for 9 years. Okay, so as we continue these discussions, that will be another interesting one. The request isn't keeping up with the pace of inflation, but I know we're balancing other requests. So again, to the extent that we can continue to document economic impact, I know council will, I anticipate council will continue to be supportive, but look forward to further discussion. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Moore.
Thank you. Actually, Councilwoman Spencer asked my question, which was related to longevity and continuity. So this is an expected year-over-year operating request through the chair?
Correct. To the councilwoman through the chair. Correct. Yeah. It's-
Great. I apologize.
No.
I also agree with Councilwoman Spencer that seeing those all in one place would be useful because they're tucked into different places in the budget. For instance, like Global Cleveland's in one place, this is in another. So it'll be helpful to see. Thank you.
All right, seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1169-2024 stands approved. Please keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Public utilities. Oops, I'm sorry. You know what? You got one more economic development.
Yep.
Let me have a seat. This should only take a second, Councilman or Director King. 1 second. Have a seat. Okay, all right, thank you. Just got one more quick one for public economic development. Economic development, this is ordinance number 1170-2024 by council members Polinsik, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request, and emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic Development and the Commissioner of Purchases and Supplies to enter into a purchase agreement with Kasem Properties LLC or its designee, and authorizing the Commissioner of Purchases and Supplies and purchase property located at 15900 Lakeshore Boulevard, which is to be placed into the city's land reutilization program for future redevelopment for the Department of Economic Development. Director.
Thank you, Council President Griffin, members of the committee. I am joined here today by Natani DeReuter, a site specialist in our department, and guest star support from Director Marty Kane. Along for the ride. So really excited about being here with you guys today. So we're here to talk about the Industrial Commercial Land Bank acquiring a piece of property in Collinwood. So a lot of these conversations started with an issue that I know that you are all dealing with in food deserts, and the administration has done a lot of work on the data side of trying to determine food deserts. And there were a lot, obviously, that circled around this site in Collinwood. I think as many of you know, this is a former Dave's Market. It closed in April of 2022, was acquired in September of 2022 by an individual that was looking to redevelop it for a variety of reasons. That didn't move forward, and as they began to market the property, there was certainly a lot of interest from it. I would say it is the type of interest that is not necessarily beneficial for the community. We began to get involved in these conversations, and I thought, well, why can't we acquire this, right? And so we started taking a really good look at it. It is objectively, I think, an amazing and fascinating site. Right, so obviously you have the former Dave's Market. It is within a block of our greatest natural asset. It is also almost directly across the street from where the Western Reserve Land Conservancy is working with the Cleveland Metro Parks to expand the Euclid Beach Lakefront Reservation. Right, it is also, you know, one door down from the Collinwood Recreation Center, in the rear is Humphrey Park. And to me, this 4.24 acres is the type of site that can swing a neighborhood. So as we began to get more serious about our ability to potentially acquire this, I think you guys have all heard me talk about the limited resources that we have, and have to be very strategic about when and how we deploy our capital. Started having conversations with Councilman Polensek, who is willing to make a substantial contribution to help make this a reality. Also important to note, we have 4.24 acres in that Dave's. Immediately adjacent to this are two parcels that are controlled by the Cuyahoga County Land Reutilization Corp., which together can make this a 6-acre site right on Lakeshore Boulevard. And so, again, this is the type of property that can sway a neighborhood, and I think it is imperative that we get it right. And so the Cuyahoga County, or the City of Cleveland Industrial Commercial Land Bank, right, the intent here is to take this into our inventory, to work to make the site shovel-ready, issue an RFP. Obviously, we want to prioritize the type of use that can address that food desert. I continue to caution folks, we're spending a lot of time just trying to keep the grocery stores we have. There is no guarantee that we're going to be able to get a grocer here, but we have found other types of users, right, that may be able to be incorporated around that. But again, this to me is actually really good use of departmental funds, and we do hope to be able to recoup as many of those as possible, but I feel like this type of site needs to be in civic control. And so we're excited to do this. This would be $1.125 million of departmental funds being exposed, combined with $350,000 from Councilman Polensek's ward funds that come on board. And again, and we do hope to close on this property later this year. And then that would open us up for potential demolition and RFP in the first quarter of 2025.
Thank you. Exciting, sounds very good. Just out of curiosity, what's happening with our grocery stores and our drugstores in the inner cities is criminal. And how many of these do we anticipate we might need to do? I'm happy that you're shoring up Councilman's ward in his area, but I know we got other areas that have this same issue. Have we tried to make sure that we do this to try to stabilize some of these big retail locations that are anchors in our community and sitting there deteriorating right now?
Yeah, so Council President, that's a great question, and it's something, again, that we're taking very seriously now. Again, I've talked to you guys about the funds that we have on hand, right? So right now, including this, our kind of primary fund that we can use for preferably loans and/or grants, is down to around $6 million, right? So this is not something that we could do all over the place. One, that is important why the council member was also assisting us in this transaction. Secondly, it's where I think that we need to look at a lot of different factors of where this makes sense. Again, I think that there is a market in Collinwood. I think that there are a lot of assets that are coming in here, but we are, as you mentioned, and you know, there is a task force that is put together around the drugstore epidemic, that I would call it, that is going on in our community. We are looking at different grocery stores, and I do view this as the type of work we as a department would like to do more of. Now, again, we are limited in just with the level of funding that we have of like how broad we can do this.
Well, first of all, I want to commend Councilman Polensek, and I didn't know he saved up that much money. He got a pretty big piggy bank over there. Everybody tell me that I'm tight. He must have been holding that money for a long time.
I got a thick mattress.
But congratulations, and Councilman Mike Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the director, to my honorable colleagues. This has been a project I've worked on for 2 years. From the day that Dave's closed on Lakeshore Boulevard, the whole issues pertaining to that. Mr. Chairman, you've touched on it, the challenge that we all have in the body with the closed retail, the drugstores, the banks, fast food establishments. I could go down the list, these great challenges, and I want to thank Director McNair because I think he's, for the first time in a long time, he and Jeff Epstein, we have two individuals that are thinking out of the box and trying to figure out how we collectively repurpose, reimagine these sites throughout the city of Cleveland. Because it's just not me. I know I visited some of these other sites that my colleagues are struggling with, and it's a challenge for us. And as I read all these financial papers and publications, I see that there's going to be more closures. We see a whole list of fast food joints that are on their way out. Who would have thought some of these places would disappear that we're starting to see? And it's just not us, it's in the suburbs as well. So again, I want to thank the director for his time and effort on this project. This is critical, Mr. Chairman, and I know because your mom lives right there, just to the east of this site. This is critical to redeveloping this area and reinforcing everything that we've done. We've invested, over the years, money in the Collinwood Rec Center. We've invested money in the lakefront. We've invested other dollars, and I've invested other dollars in this community. I'm committed to reimagining Lakeshore Boulevard, repurposing it, and figuring out what we can do, working with all the entities, the library, Metro Parks, Western Reserve Land Conservancy, and all the other folks that are engaged here. We need, on the east side, Mr. Chairman, we need believers. We need believers, and we need people who are willing to invest. And I'm hoping that once we get possession of this property, that we can start to go out with an RFP and start to think out of the box again as to what we can do to repurpose or to seek new development for this area. So I want to thank Councilman Hairston for relieving it of committee. I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for bringing it on to the finance table today so we can get moving on this. And again, I would respectfully ask my colleagues to please support this. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Councilman. Don't see any other, Councilman Hairston?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Would like to echo Councilman Polensek. This property, it was devastating when Dave's closed on Lakeshore. For not only the folks who live in North Collinwood, but folks who live on the south end of Collinwood as well, because you only had Dave's Market as your full-service grocery store that serviced not only Wards 8, but also Ward 10 as well. Unless you live in Euclid Green, then you can travel a little bit further up to go to Cleveland Heights or Richmond Heights. But Dave's on Lakeshore was even closer. You go right down the hill, you jump over St. Clair, you are at Dave's on Lakeshore. And so for us to look at picking up this property would be a good thing for the community as a whole. I hope that we can find someone who will come in, work with us to repurpose this building. Yes, it needed a lot of work, before it closed. We believe that the location is great. Councilman Polenzek is doing some amazing things in that part of the city. We are doing some good things in 10, so hopefully all the things that we are doing in that neighborhood will attract someone to come and pick up this location when the RFP is issued and bring us a grocery store or even a mixed-use property that also encompasses a grocery store, includes a grocery store as well. So, Mr. Chair, fully support. I was happy to relieve this from committee so that this process continued to move forward without any hiccups, so that way, we can move forward attracting somebody to pick up this property and redevelop it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman. Appreciate the expeditiousness of it. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1170-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Thank you. Appreciate it. Move to public utilities. First one is ordinance number 551-2024 by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance determining the method of making the public improvement of constructing the Brookfield Avenue, West 130th Street, Dearborn Avenue, East 27th, East 48th Street, East 93rd Street, Park Ridge Avenue, Brookside Drive, West 19th Street, West 63rd Street, and West 89th Street, area sewer replacement or rehabilitation projects, authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more public contracts, authorizing the Director to employ one or more professional consultants necessary to design the improvement, and authorizing the Director to apply for and accept any loans and grants for any public or private entity. Director.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the committee. The Division of Water Pollution Control, after inspection and data analysis, determined the outlined projects are prioritized to prevent backups into private properties, street flooding, street collapse, illicit discharge, disruption of utility services, or higher construction repair costs due to emergency if not addressed. These projects, again, as outlined in the ordinance, would remove approximately 9,000 feet of combined sewers in an effort to better serve all of our customers. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Brian Casey.
Mr. Chairman, we had a robust conversation in utilities regarding this, and we recommend for passage.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? I don't see any other questions. Ordinance number 551-2024 stands approved. Please sign on.
Nice job, Commissioner.
Next one is ordinance number 624-2024 by Councilman, and 624-2024 as amended by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more agreements with CHN Housing Partners to administer energy, water, and sewer conservation services to low-income homeowners for the divisions of water, water pollution control, and Cleveland Public Power. Department of Public Utilities for a period or periods not to exceed 1 year, with one option to renew for a period or periods not to exceed 1 year, exercisable by the Director of Public Utilities. And the amendment is as follows. There is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. 1, in the title, strike lines 9, 10, 11, and 12 in their entirety and insert periods not to exceed 1 year. 2, in section 1, strike lines 5 and 6 in their entirety and insert period or periods not to exceed 1 year. Dated 10/31/2024, signed by Vishnu Gaglani, Assistant Director of Law. And the sum of this work is $900,000. Director?
Thank you, Chairman. Purpose of the program is to provide low-income Cleveland area homeowners with conservation devices and minor repairs to help reduce resource usage, resulting in cost savings on their utility bills. CHN is a longtime partner of the Department of Public Utilities. They were here at the Utilities Committee. We had, obviously, as reflected in the amendment, a very thoughtful dialogue. And it's my understanding that they have been requested to come back in January with a full outline, word-specific, of what CHN does. Recommend approval.
Thank you. Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Heard in utilities and recommended for passage.
Thank you. Councilman Kevin Conwell.
Chair, President, the directors. Here's my issue with that. You talking about dollars going to, let me hear, understand better. Are we talking about money going to the housing network? Let me better understand.
Chairman, to the council member, CHN Housing Partners has been a partner of Public Utilities since approximately 1981. This is the conservation portion of it, so we have an affordability program through CHN. This is the conservation ordinance where we expend approximately $900,000 a year to support the customers in the conservation efforts to reduce the utility burden.
You know what my residents say about them? I've tried to call them. Only way I can get through, I have to reach out to the, it's Kevin, right?
Chairman of the council member, that's correct.
I like his name. But anyway, I gotta call him just to get through. My residents tell me they cannot get through between the housing network. They can't get through. You know, I was complaining, certain time I'm at home complaining about the housing network. The county gives them dollars too. They sit down, sit his wife and I, we talk about how residents cannot get through between the housing network. We give them the money, they gotta answer their phone calls, and they gotta return calls.
Chairman of the council member, I will relay that message.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna call again, and they'll return the phone calls. He's gonna look up and see me looking right at him.
Understood.
Like his name and everything, he's gotta return the phone calls.
Agree, very much agree.
And do we have anyone from your office, to the chair, to the director, to kind of make phone calls and make sure they return calls?
Chairman, to the council member, as it pertains to the conservation program, yes. I mean, all of our call center staff, support staff throughout the 3 divisions are very familiar with CHN. We do direct referrals in the event that a customer qualifies. I know that coming out of COVID, during COVID, there were a lot of state and federal dollars that were being funneled through CHN, and we heard the same complaints. However, our intention is to help the customer. CHN takes the approach to the customer. Once qualified, they are then eligible for a number of different programs.
Right.
But I do know that through the Utilities Committee, they will be back in January to present all of those outcomes that council prioritizes, and it's certainly our pledge to make that happen. So we will have an opportunity to fully discuss all of the programs available or offered through CHN here at the beginning of the new year.
Councilman Casey would like to have a point on your line of questions. Would you mind, Councilman Conwell?
Yeah, definitely.
Councilman Casey on that point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we've also heard the same concerns that Councilman Bishop brought up, hence the reason for the amendment to the piece of legislation, so that we can get their program, which the contract expired in May, so we can get them caught up. And then we're going to bring them back to the table in January to do a thorough rundown of everything that CHN provides for the utilities, at least utilities, which includes the PIP and HEAP and all that other stuff. So we're looking at this, and we hear Councilman Bishop, and we look at doing a deeper dive in January.
Thank you, Councilman Conwell.
Councilmember, I'm suggesting this. I mean, if you give them money to the Chairman Brian Casey, and they're not executing on the dollars, we look at the pre and post test, then we yank it from them, and right now we start looking at other people who might take our residents, not my money, our residents' money. I'm serious, and then we give it to someone else if they're going to execute. To the director, to the chair, if they don't execute, take the money. Everybody hears the same complaint that these guys do not answer their phones, and they do not return phone calls. They need to get out here and visit our ward clubs and discuss it with our residents. I know you probably heard the same thing also, Councilman. They don't return CHN. They got to return phone calls, because we get the calls. We get the calls if they don't. And I'm disappointed in CHN. I'm disappointed, and that's what I just have to say, Mr. CP, thank you very much. Thank you, Director. I'll be at the table.
Understood.
Tell them I'm going to advocate for them to lose their funding. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councilman Kevin Bishop and then Councilman Mike Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just want to reiterate what Councilman Conwell has stated here at the table. I have gotten multiple calls, folks frustrated about they can't get their calls returned. Something very important at CHN was working with. So anyway, I just want to reiterate what Councilman Conwell was saying, that I get those calls too about the inactivity as far as them returning phone calls to our residents that's in serious need. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Mike Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to follow up with Councilman Conwell and Councilman Bishop. I can't remember off the top of my head the two ladies who were at the table representing CHN. I think what's important, if we can have their names, their contact, their phone numbers, and their emails, because I'm prepared to direct correspondence right to them. And then I want to see what kind of response we're going to get. Because right now, when we're asking our citizens to call in, as you've heard around the table, it's very questionable and debatable whether or not someone's going to answer a phone or they're going to get any help. So, but if you provide that to us, then we contact them, because I have no problem writing them. I have no problem calling them. As you know, Director, I call people. I write people. And I want to see what kind of response I'm going to get out of them. Because then it ties into what Councilman Conwell says. If we don't get the response, then we just look for another group who will fulfill, and there's other groups out there, then we can redirect those dollars to a group that is more sympathetic and more responsible to our citizens and member of the council. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and I think I completely agree. I would strongly recommend that we start lining up and seeing who we can have as backups now, because, I just think CHN is overwhelmed, and I don't think it's because of lack of effort, but I just think that they're overwhelmed. And I think they're at capacity. I know that Councilman Casey's been saying the same thing for the last 2 or 3 years. So I think we need to get somebody in our back pocket that we can look at as a backup plan, so that we don't keep running into the same issue if they don't perform.
Thank you, Chairman.
Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 624-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Next is ordinance number 1054-2024 by council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of labor and materials necessary to test, inspect, maintain, and repair bucket and derrick trucks for the Division of Cleveland Public Power, Department of Public Utilities for a period of 2 years. Director.
Thank you, Chairman. Labor and materials needed for the inspection, testing, and maintenance of hydraulic aerial bucket trucks and derrick digger trucks for the Division of Cleveland Public Power, as required by the American National Standards Institute 92.2. Project estimated for 2-year contract in the amount of $500,000.
Okay, just out of curiosity, Director, why isn't that that's not on the legislation?
Chairman, it's a requirements contract, so
Okay.
hopefully we're not going to spend it, but we
Okay.
have it encumbered in the event that we need to spend it, but we have the money.
Thank you. Councilman Casey.
Duly vetted and recommended for passage out of utilities.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1054-2024 stands approved. Please sign on.
What if someone's trying to cross the street that's blind, man, or in a wheelchair?
All right, next one is ordinance number 1055-2024 by council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of duct lines, street lighting bases, and pool boxes, labor and materials necessary to install, repair, replace, and maintain the duct lines, street lighting bases, and pool boxes, and other related incidentals for the Division of Cleveland Public Power, Department of Public Utilities for a period of 2 years. Director.
Thank you, Chairman. This is essentially our underground contract. We go out to bid for support on the underground efforts of CPP to maintain the integrity and reliability of Cleveland Public Power's infrastructure underground. Legislation requested to provide uninterrupted work on the city's underground duct line division of CPP, second quarter of 2025, anticipated to cost $1.2 million for 2 years.
Thank you. Councilman Casey.
Duly vetted and recommended for passage out of utilities.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions? Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1055-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. All right, next we have ordinance number 1079-2024 by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more contracts without competitive bidding with Windstream Communications LLC, DBA Kinetic Business by Windstream for telecommunications service lines for primary and backup communications for SCADA controlled security cameras and telephones at various locations which are outside the Cuyahoga County and beyond the AT&T service area, and authorize payment and monthly charges to Windstream for a period up to 3 years for the Division of Water, Department of Public Utilities. Director.
Thank you, Chairman. Windstream Communications provides connectivity to locations that are outside of the AT&T service area. This connectivity is critical to the security and safety of our water system. So outside of Cuyahoga County, Windstream is the approach from, or the selected vendor in areas where Cleveland Water has facilities, including Northfield, Twinsburg, and Richfield. They're the only telecommunications provider, anticipated to cost $20,000 with a 3-year, $20,000 a year, 3-year total of $60,000.
All right, thank you. Councilman Brian Casey.
Duly vetted, recommended for passage out of utilities.
Thank you. Don't see any questions. Seeing no questions, 1079-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Next ordinance is ordinance number 1118-2024 by council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to employ one or more professional consultants to administer a backflow data management program for a period of 3 years, with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Public Utilities. Director.
Thank you, Chairman. Cleveland Water provides service to almost 15,000 commercial industrial accounts and service to 5,000 fire lines. Water used at commercial and industrial sites has the potential to become contaminated by the processes that happen inside the business, then flow backward back into CWD's distribution system. The backflow device is a device that precludes that water from coming back into our system. They are required by the EPA to be inspected on an annual basis. We have, for the number of years, used a vendor to track the inspections of those backflow devices. We're seeking authority to go out to to continue that relationship with a vendor. It's predominantly for the data associated with the backflow device, and then the compliance with the EPA.
So just a quick question, is this the device that detects COVID cases and all of those kind of things like that too?
No, so this is simply, if whatever's going on in a business, they use Cleveland Water, it keeps it from coming back into the system. So this is not the testing at the wastewater treatment plants or any of the COVID. It precludes bad things from coming back into our distribution system, from industrial uses, some residential uses, specifically an irrigation system. If there were a break and it would pull things back in when it was winterized, when people put chemicals in their irrigation system, it doesn't pull that back in and deliver it to the house next door.
Great. All right, thank you. Councilman Casey.
Duly vetted, recommended for passage out of utilities.
All right, seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1118-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Last but not least, for public utilities, ordinance number 957-2024 by council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request to amend various sections of ordinance of Chapter 523 as amended by various ordinances to repeal Section 523.021 and to enact new sections 523.0491, 523.066, 523.067, 523.28, and 523.29, all relating to rules and rates for electricity charges for the Division of Public Power. Director.
Thank you, Chairman. This is the rate ordinance for Cleveland Public Power. We have had a number of presentations to not only Utilities Committee, but then out into the community. It has been welcomed. It has been enjoyable, and I should certainly comment CPP staff and fiscal staff. I'm joined at the table by the Commissioner of Cleveland Public Power, Ammon Danielson, and the Chief Financial Officer of the Department of Public Utilities, Catherine Troy. We had a number of hearings at the Utilities Committee, and as I was saying, the community meetings, the opportunity to go out and talk to our customers and explain what our intention is with this ordinance, which is to provide better service. It hasn't happened in a very long time. Council is well aware of the financial pressures that we face on an annual basis to continue to attract and retain high-quality talent, invest in our infrastructure, and meet those financial, the debt service coverages that we are required to do based on historical offerings. And we know we need to do better in the IT side, in the call center, and continue to onboard employees, cross-train employees, on top of the actual capital outlay of CPP. We do not have a presentation for consideration at Finance today. We have, we stand ready to answer any questions the council may have.
So a couple of things, and I did watch the hearing, and I do want to thank Councilman Casey. Actually had about 3 hearings, 2 or 3?
3.
3 hearings around this, so there have been several hearings on this. Policy staff has also really been brought up to speed with this. I've been brought up to speed with this. Just a couple of questions. How long has it been since we had a rate increase?
For the base rate, Chairman, it's been since 1983.
So we haven't had a rate increase since 1983. And just out of curiosity, if we were not to pass this rate increase, what would be the fallback? What would be the problem?
Well, the biggest problem would be the debt service coverages that are due in 2025. We did take necessary financial precautions when the market was favorable to refinance and refund certain of those debt, but there is no longer those opportunities available to us. So in 2025, we will have a $2 million increase in our debt service coverage.
Okay. I know that we've been having this discussion for a while. This is kind of a time sensitive. I know Councilman Polensek had a lot of questions, and the rest of the committee had a lot of questions. I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Casey, who led a robust conversation around this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the last time CPP raised their rates, Ronald Reagan was our president. Just as we're on the eve of an election, that's how long it's been and how well Cleveland Public Power has been in their fiscal responsibilities to the ratepayers of Cleveland Public Power. It's just unfortunate that with the economic times that we're in this situation with the bond ratings for next year. We did hold 3 committee hearings on this with presentations and questions. We also did 6 or 7 public meetings, which were well attended and very well received. I was actually quite surprised, except for one lady and all 7 of them. It was pretty well received. I think, you know, Cleveland Public Power is a great asset to the city of Cleveland. I couldn't imagine what we would be going through had we had just one utility company in the city of Cleveland, which would be a monopoly. And, you know, Cleveland Public Power is 120 years old, and it's one of the oldest institutions that we have in this city that has been actually given back to the residents of the city of Cleveland. And hopefully with this rate increase that, you know, a lot of things, and the DPU understands that we're expecting better and bigger things from Cleveland Public Power in regards to maintenance of our infrastructure and expansion. So hopefully we can look, you know, forward. I think the future of Cleveland Public Power is bright, and I thank all of my colleagues who are in support of this ordinance as we vetted it out. I don't know how much better you could have vetted something out, but this thing was vetted. It was, every rock, I think, was turned, every stone was rolled, everything we could possibly think of, not only from our side of the table, but from the other side of the table as well, in regards to getting this passed. Because if we had any questions or any doubts, and the administration knows that we wouldn't have we wouldn't have heard it or we wouldn't have passed it. So I appreciate all the time and effort that all of my colleagues put into getting this to where it is today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilman Mike Polensek, 957-2024.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, and to the director and everybody that's here at the table from the administration, the commissioner. I'm the only one left here from when Cleveland Public Power faced imminent demise, and a group of us in council took to the street and walked with then the mayor to save Cleveland Public Power, because again, as Councilman Casey indicated, we needed to have real competition in the city of Cleveland. We didn't want to be at the mercy of CEI First Energy. Well, then it wasn't First Energy, CEI. And so a lot of things transpired. We were able to save the system. But we've come a long way from there. And I guess part of my concern, and as I expressed at the table, Mr. Chairman, during the hearings, that old commercial and that old saying goes, you either pay now or you pay later. And I think the problem is, over the years, that we did not collectively upgrade the system the way it needed to be upgraded, because we weren't given the full picture, we weren't given the full scope of the status of the system and the overall condition. I mean, that's just the fact that I was here, and I've been through this whole process. The greater Collinwood area in East Glenville, we are the largest customer base for Cleveland Public Power. It goes back to the annexation of then Collinwood Village. And so I'm very much aware of the systems. I want to thank the chair, Councilman Casey, for coming out, not only during the outage, because we had sections of Collinwood that were out for 9 days as a result of the August 6th storm. But I also thank the commissioner and other folks from Cleveland Public Power coming out, and also at the neighborhood meetings that we had, and the one at East 185th Street Neighborhood Association, which was well attended, and a lot of people asked concerns because, again, everyone's concerned about their utility bills. That's a given. So as I indicated to the director and to the commissioner, what I need to hear today, briefly, is the fact that we have, the Northeast side is the oldest system. The infrastructure is the oldest part of Cleveland Public Power. That's a given. And I appreciate the commissioner coming out on Friday. He and the assistant commissioner, I believe it was assistant commissioner, correct? And spent time with me so I could work them over in the car as it pertains to the condition of the substations. So what I want to hear from you, because I'm prepared to do what I have to do. We need to upgrade the system. We need to make it a better system. We need to improve upon it. We need to create reliability and redundancy. What are we going to do to upgrade those substations and those parts of the system that are ancient? They're over 100 years old. And so that's what I need to hear from the director, and I need to hear from the commissioner.
Director, Commissioner.
Well, thank you, through the chairman, to the council members. Certainly, if supported by council, we will immediately begin to increase our capital expenditure, which includes substations, not necessarily I hope, and I know the commissioner and you had a good conversation about foliage and landscape management.
And maintaining.
And we know how important that is to our image, to our customer, and to our legislative branch, and to us. We want to do better. And we had a lapse in a contract, but we have a plan to move forward with that, not necessarily reflected in these rates. These rates are for those things as outlined, improved materials, infrastructure investments. When we did the facility assessment 2 years ago, it identified some immediate needs, some short-term immediate capital improvement needs, and we will be coming back to council with some additional capital next year, if passed next year. But and all of that builds into the reliability of our system. Okay. So Collinwood specific, I can't give you today. But we all know that from a image perspective, we need to do better at our 33 substations and cut the grass and make sure that it looks how our customers would expect it to. Okay. And we will do better.
And then the reliability, the tree trimming that we need throughout, just not in Collinwood, but throughout the system, and then replacement of infrastructure poles, appurtenances, transformers, anything we need. What I'm saying is, because that's what has created all these outages that we've experienced. And again, I've experienced outages in my community when the weather's perfect. Weather's absolutely perfect, and the power's gone out. So I'm the one getting those phone calls. I just want to be assured, I'm here to support this. And I say that because I don't, as people know around here, when it comes to rates, I'm pretty tough on this stuff, as you guys know. I mean, I'm not here just to rubber stamp what you guys want. That's why you continue to lose hair at the table, okay? So the fact of the matter is, I want to be assured that not only just my residents, but residents across the city of Cleveland, when this body supports this, that we're going to see those improvements in the infrastructure. We're going to see those improvements in equipment or whatever we need to keep this system viable so we can be competitive. We can provide. And the other thing is, I want to just say this through you to the director, and nobody's here from economic development. We should make every effort possible. This is something that Councilman Casey has stressed as well. Every time there's a new development, a new house, a new business, we've got to make sure that they're on Cleveland Public Power. That's got to be a given. There cannot be any debate about that. We've got to make sure that we are out there, we are marketing our system, we're getting customers, because the more customers we get, then we'll be able to keep those rates low. That's what's important. The more customers, the lower the rates. So I want to stress that. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm here to support the legislation. I support the director and the commissioner, and I appreciate what Councilman Casey did to help facilitate the process, and you, Mr. Chairman, as well.
Thank you so much, Councilman. Do we have any other questions regarding ordinance number 957-2024? Councilman Kerry McCormick.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the director and the commissioner. We're having side conversations about downtown in the next couple of weeks. So I got whole streets downtown with no lights. So appreciate them engaging with me on that. Chair, did we discuss at all? I apologize, I had to step out. The LED conversion. I will. If we didn't talk about that today, I'll. But just quickly, if Chair to the Director, may I have an update on, I know we passed additional legislation. Our residents downtown can't wait for that LED conversion. What is our rough timeline on that?
Chairman.
My third district can't wait for that LED
Right.
conversion. I'm looking at my chief back there. So,
Chairman,
Director,
the council member, the fixtures that we've talked extensively about that will, the 480 volt fixtures are en route. We expect to receive them shortly.
Great.
With that, there will be another ordinance for assistance with the installation.
Great.
We did get the staff aug ordinance out of council. There's a cap on it. It might cost us a little more, so we're anticipating getting a new ordinance to council, probably not this year, but have everything put together when we meet with you on the 18th of November.
I look
or
forward
the
to
commissioner will.
co-sponsoring that legislation. Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank you so much. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 957-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Public capital projects and utilities, I believe this is a joint piece.
Public work, is it 587, 2024,
It
Chairman?
says public utilities, yeah.
Yes.
So this is ordinance number 587-2024 by council members Bishop, Casey, and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of labor and materials necessary for analysis, identification, storage, remediation, transportation, cleanup, emergency response, recycling, and the disposal of various chemicals, hazardous waste products, and other non-hazardous and recyclable waste materials, routine industrial cleaning, and required training for the divisions of water, Cleveland Public Power and Water Pollution Control, Department of Public Utilities, and the Department of Public Works for a period of 2 years with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Public Utilities. Director.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a joint piece with the Department of Public Works for hazardous, non-hazardous materials. We talked extensively at the Utilities Committee about the trucking and disposal of, recycling of those hazardous materials. In the operations of DPU and Public Works, there are occasions where we will run into these types of materials that either need to be analyzed, verified, and then appropriately disposed of. That's what we use this contract for. But we also use it to train our existing hazmat staff to make sure that they are up to compliance with all their required certifications. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, Councilman Casey, Councilman Bishop.
It's duly vetted in utilities and recommended for passage.
Councilman Bishop.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we vetted this municipal services and fully recommended.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 587-2024 stands approved. Please sign on.
Thank you.
Public safety. Ordinance number 1114-2024, as amended by council members Polinsky and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Public Safety to amend lease number LS 2018 through 2024 with Cuyahoga County for the lease of certain spaces located on various floors of the Justice Center to extend the term for an additional year, beginning October 2nd, 2024, and to include additional space for the Clerk of Cleveland Municipal Court located on the 4th floor of the Justice Center. And the amendment is as follows. There is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. In the first whereas clause, line 5, strike 93 and insert 119. This was dated 10/30/24 by Patricia McGinty Aston, Assistant Director of Law. Director.
Thank you, Chair and council members. As stated, ordinance number 1114-2024 is amended to authorize the Director of Public Safety to extend the existing lease with the Cuyahoga County at the current Cleveland Police Division headquarters at 1300 Ontario Street for a one-year period beginning October 2nd, 2024, with an option to renew for an additional one-year period, and enter into an agreement with the Cleveland Municipal Court for reimbursement for space, for rent of space the court occupies on the 4th floor. My crew is here with me, my staff, my team rather, to assist with any questions that the council may have.
Thank you. Councilman Mike Polinsky.
Mr. Chairman, my own colleagues, the Director, the Chief, and the team that we discussed this in detail, there were a lot of concerns. We felt that the county has given us both the upper and the lower radiators on this project, but we have no recourse because we are tenants in their building. We are tenants in the Justice Center. I would have liked that they would have cut us a break, but they don't. I don't think they believe they have to at this point. So as I've indicated, the sooner we get out of there and get into the new police headquarters, the better off we're going to be, because this is just an ongoing drain. We've already paid more in rent than we received for the sale of the building. That's extremely troubling. So that's the reality we're confronted with, but at this point we have no other choice except to support it.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, are they still trying to increase the cost per prisoner? Because it was $99, I believe, and now I know that they wanted to renegotiate. The reason I'm asking, just seems to me like they just found another way to bite at the apple.
To the chair, to Councilman Griffin, yes, the county, that is, would like to increase the per day rate for the prisoners that they hold for the city of Cleveland. Contractually, we have $99 per, and we're going to continue on that path with the $99. But yes, they want us to increase the price.
So they want us to increase the price per prisoner and jack up rent costs and move the jail out to Garfield, if I'm reading that correctly.
Exactly.
Last I thought Cleveland is part of Cuyahoga County. This seems like this is like, all right, okay. Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the Director, this Flask special, we got hosed. How much is our rent going up from last year to this year?
Suzanne, she can answer those questions for you.
Through the chair to Councilman Casey, the rate is increasing from $18 per square foot to $20.50 per square foot. So the annual increase is for rent is about $286,500. So it is fairly significant.
It is significant. It's not fairly significant, it is significant. So, Mr. Chairman, to Ms. DeGennaro, right?
Yes.
DeGennaro. When we first got into this, I think it was 5 years ago? Was it 5 years?
2018.
18 or 6 years ago? What were we paying rent then? Do you remember?
$10 per square foot.
So in 6 years, they've more than doubled our rent at the county. And don't we also, Mr. Chairman, don't we own a building, an old hotel over on that Frontline runs their services out of?
I think so.
Kevin? Or he's not here. I just toured that. It's where they do their homeless population transition. And we charge them zero rent for them running their operations. Yeah, you know what, we charge them zero rent. The city charges them zero rent to run their operations out of there. Now, granted, it is well needed, the services that they're provided. But the county is not a friend to the city of Cleveland when it comes to this ordeal. In addition to more than doubling that's just unfathomable. Mr. Chairman, to the director, when's the new police headquarters going to be ready to open up? When are we going to get the hell out of there?
To the chair, I believe we should take delivery of that facility in the spring of, or first quarter of 2026.
2026?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then the additional space, Mr. Chairman, to the director or to that's needed for the clerk of court's office, why do they need additional space and who's paying for that?
Through the chair to Councilman Casey, the space was already there, I guess, and Suzanne can actually answer it a lot better than I can, but the space has already been there. It's existed. For whatever reason, the county did not include that. They did an assessment, located those particular spaces, which we will, and the Division of Police will pay for, but have a charge back to I have a contract, rather, MOU, with the courts to pay for that particular space. But they've been there the entire time.
All right. And then, Mr. Chairman, to the director, who are your guests at the table?
To my left is...
I know this side.
So,
I know
through the chair to the
Chief
council
Todd.
member, they're here for the next ordinance. I
Oh,
apologize.
okay. Not here from the county, right?
No.
I did have my eye on it.
To the chair, they're both police officers.
Okay, all right.
Safe.
Good enough. Off the hook. But has the MOU with the clerk's office already been signed? And is this additional rent in the clerk's budget?
Through the chair to Councilman Casey, we have spoken with the courts. It is in their budget. They do intend to reimburse us. What happened was when we owned the building, we had an MOU with the courts to just allow them to use the space. And then when the property sold to the county, there was an oversight on the part of the county. They weren't billing us for that space, which is good news, but now they want to be paid for it. So that's why we're seeking authority for an agreement.
When our little brother found out about it, they decided, oh, look at this, we can start charging them for additional space that we've been using, correct? Mr. Chairman, I know I didn't vote for this the last time it came up because I believe that if we continued to pay this amount, that it doesn't hold the city's feet to the fire to get out of the building quicker. Now, we're hearing that spring of 2026, and I believe this ordinance covers 2025 and 2026, correct, Mr. Chairman? Is this 1 year with,
Through the chair, Councilman Casey, it's 1 year with one option to renew.
Right, 1 year with one option to renew. Now, with this ordinance, with the option to renew, if the county, again, is going to increase the rent that they're going to charge us, does this piece of ordinance have to come back, or do you guys have that option with this piece of ordinance to go ahead and accept the additional square foot, price per square foot that they may charge us next year, which we know they're going to up it?
Unfortunately, through the chair, we don't know if there's going to be an increase next year.
Well, we do know, we just can't say it, but we
It's-
do know.
I mean, it's possible there may not be if we exercise, if we provide written notice and don't get an increase. And there was, in fact, 1 year that the county did not increase our rent. I think it was between the third and fourth amendments. So it's possible.
They've doubled our rent in 2 years, in 6 years. How gracious of them not to charge us 1 year.
Understood.
But the question is, if there's an increase in the rent in the option year, does the administration have the ability to accept that increase in rent without coming back before council? So in other words, we're paying $20.50 in 2025, but we're giving them an option to renew for an additional year. But if that rent goes up to $22, does the administration have the ability to renew without coming back before council if there's an increase in rent? Mr. Chairman, to the director.
To the chair, to Councilman Casey, according to the legislation I have in front of us, it has to be mutually agreeable for us to move forward with it.
Mutually agreeable, Mr. Chairman, to the director, between you and the county?
To the chair, that's correct.
Not us?
To the chair, that's correct.
Okay.
Well, then, I would urge my colleague to make a motion to that effect. It would have to come back to council for ratification for
Can I see the piece of
2026.
legislation? Just see how we would entitle it.
While Councilman Casey is reviewing and considering his motion, just a couple of things that I want to make sure that I notice and I want to make sure I get clarity on. And where's the money coming from? It looks like there was approximately originally about 2.5 million in the 2.3 in the 2023 budget, and then it looks like an additional 500 million was added, or an additional 500,000 was added for the new budget year 2024, but then 2024 had no numbers with it. So why were the funds not added like it has been in past years in 2021 and 2022 and 2020? Why haven't the funds been budgeted in the police's operation budget?
Through the chair, to Councilman, I don't have that information in front of me, but we can get that information from finance.
Do we have anybody from finance that can explain that or can get that?
To the chair, we do not have anyone from finance at the table with us, but we can get that information for you.
All right. Councilman Casey, you have a motion, and if somebody from finance is watching, it'd be nice if somebody can come and make sure they give us that explanation.
I'm not seeing where it says in the legislation about the extension of the more than 1 year.
So through the chair to Councilman Casey, it's in section 1, towards second line from the bottom, with one option to renew.
Section 1. Here's the
Oh, here it
term
is.
we're looking at now.
Oh, there. All right. All right, so it would read in section 1, line 1, 2, 3, on line 4, it would read October 2nd, 2024, with one option to renew exercisable with one option to renew pending, or wait a minute, I got to think of the proper verbiage, because we would want it, if the terms of the lease are not going to change, that would be fine. But if the terms of the lease are going to change, it would be
Ratified by.
right. It would have to be with further legislative
Right.
with legislative authority.
Yes.
So with one option to renew, pending original lease terms. And if there is, and if there is a change in the original lease under ordinance 1114-2024, it would be with further
Approval of city council.
with further legislative authority.
Right.
Mr. Law Director, do you got that?
All right, so we have a motion that's been proffered. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilman Palinsky, second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor for the proffered amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, please
Thank you,
proceed.
Mr. Chairman.
Has anybody from finance been able to give you any information about where this money's coming from? It looks like it was 2.5 million put in to the 2023 budget. Looks like it was $500,000 was added in 2024, but then 2024, there's $0 entered, which begs the question, where's the money coming from? And why hasn't any of the RQSs or RLAs been
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
When we sold the building, please, Ms. DeGenero, correct me if I'm not right. It was for 9.5, correct?
Through the chair to Councilman Palinsky, it was 9.25.
Okay, 2.5.
Okay.
Did that go into a sub-fund? Did that go into the general fund?
Trying to find out where that
Yeah.
hit is coming from. That's where everybody's trying to find out.
Through the chair, I'm not sure. I would have to find out and let you know.
Okay. So we have exceeded the original purchase, the original sale price by how much now?
Let's see.
Through the chair, in section 5, it says that the cost of the lease amendment shall be paid from fund number 01-001-998 and RSQ 6002 and RLA 2024-98.
Again, I don't know if that's where the proceeds from the sale went into. I don't know.
Is this being paid out of another administrative fund or public safety? Where's it being paid from?
It's coming from public safety.
So it's nothing that attributes it to public safety. That's the concern. That's what I'm trying to understand. And it looks like they might have grabbed the money from somewhere else. That's what I'm trying to make sure that we clarify. Somebody could probably give me a simple answer, but if somebody could help me understand that.
To the chair, we'll get someone from finance to come to the table and answer that question.
All right, somebody could come while we do these other two, while we try to do these other two. We'll go to ordinance. We'll hold this one until they can come back to us to finance to explain that. Next, we'll go to ordinance number 1115-2024 by council members Polinsky and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for the fiscal year 24 Recovery Ohio LE program to provide funding for the operation of the Cartel Gang Narcotics Laundering Task Force. And this is pretty typical. We do this every year. It's about a total of $65,000, which I'm always amazed. I would know we need more, but please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. This ordinance, which is ordinance number 1115-2024, if passed by council, would authorize the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a $65,000 grant from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for the fiscal year 24 Recovery Ohio Law Enforcement Program grant. This legislation will provide funding for the operation of the Cartel Gang Narcotics Laundering Task Force, or Signal. The grant amount, as you stated, is for a total of $65,000, and it's broken down as such. Personnel, $35,051.15, and that's for police overtime. Equipment, that's $9,145. That's for surveillance equipment. Supplies, $3,500. Office supplies, Narcan safe use kits. Other costs is $3,160. It's vehicle maintenance, cell phone data. and also confidential funds, which is in the amount of $14,143.85. That's for buy money and surveillance. With me, of course, at the table is Chief Todd and her team, Sergeant McNeely, and Commander Kincaid, who can answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you. Chief?
I'll defer to them.
Gentlemen?
To the chair, this grant is used, this Recovery Ohio specifically is used for investigative purposes, but there's also a outreach element to it where we purchase Narcan safe use kits. It's necessary to have these funds on the task force for investigative purposes. The task force is comprised of federal, local, and state investigators. And with these resources, investigative and intelligence-based, we're able to identify these sophisticated criminal organizations that operate within Cleveland.
Awesome. Thank you. Just out of curiosity, what is the total budget that you guys dedicate to this? I'm sure it's not just $65,000. Just what is the sub budget for this, or I'm saying that correctly?
Through the chair to the council, there's 3 grants that the Signal Task Force receives. The Ohio ODLE, Ohio Drug Law Enforcement Fund, which we generally come before council for. The JAG Burn Grant, which is another legislation here today, and then Recovery Ohio. Those funds are used for the day-to-day operations, overtime, buy money, to further the investigations. And they also help support the outside agencies that join us in the task force for these investigations. So we apply for $333,000 from the ODLE. Rarely are we actually awarded that much. Then for the JAG, we apply for $150,000. It doesn't necessarily mean we'll be awarded that much, but the Recovery Ohio is pretty consistent in the $65,000. We don't have a standard operating budget year to year. It's all based on what we receive from the grants.
Interesting. So if we didn't get these grants, we would have to pretty much just reallocate resources within the division, right?
Through the chair to the council, absolutely. If we didn't receive these grants, which we thankfully have been receiving long before I got here, we would be discussing other funding mechanisms and trying to find other ways to support the task force.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Mike Valencia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and my honorable colleagues, we discussed the legislation in detail. We were very much in support of the piece, and it passed unanimously within the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1115-2024 stands approved. Please sign on.
To the chair, we can go back to
So
the
we'll go
original.
back to 1114-2024 and pick up where we left off.
Yes.
Please let us know.
Assistant Director Carlton has the information that you inquired about.
A.D. Carlton.
Council President, it is paid out of general fund. It is Department 998, page 282 of the budget book. It's under property rental for $3 million.
Under the police budget.
No, it's a general fund.
So it's under general
non-departmental.
fund, not police department budget.
Correct,
That was
non-departmental.
the question and what we were trying to get clarified, because originally you were saying it may be under the police budget, but it is under the general fund
Correct.
budget.
To the Council President, it is actually listed in the legislation. It's Department 9998.
Department 9998?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It's under Section 5. Yeah, that's correct. It's listed
Okay.
under Section 5.
All right, thank you. All right, I don't have any other questions about that. Any other questions for 1114-2024? Seeing no other questions regarding 1114-2024, stands approved. Next is ordinance number 1116-2024 by Councilmembers Polensek and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for the fiscal year 2024 State Burn Memorial Justice Assistance Grant to provide funding for the operations of the cartel gang narcotics laundering task force and authorizing agreements with various entities to implement the grant. Director.
Yes, Chair. As stated, this ordinance, which is ordinance number 1116-2024, if passed by council, would authorize me, the Director of Public Safety, to apply for and accept a $150,000 grant from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for fiscal year '24 for the State Burn Memorial Grant. This legislation will provide funding for the operation of the Cartel Gang Narcotics Laundering Task Force Signal. The purpose of the grant: the goal of the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services Justice Assistant Grant is to provide funding to law enforcement agencies for operating multi-agency task forces. The City of Cleveland will be reimbursed for costs associated with operating the Division of Police's Cartel Gang Narcotics Laundering Task Force, formerly known as the Northern Ohio Law Enforcement Task Force. The Signal is a multi-agency drug task force that brings together state, federal, and local agents and investigators to ensure that the most sophisticated investigation and prosecution resources are directed against organized drug trafficking groups. Expenses to be reimbursed, as like the last one, personnel, $30,000 for police overtime. Contracts, $30,000 for police officer overtime for partner agencies. Equipment, $37,000 for undercover police vehicle. Supplies, $500 for office supplies. Other costs, $5,000 for vehicle maintenance and cell data plans. And confidential funds, which is $47,500 for buy money and surveillance costs, for a grand total of $150,000. We have received this grant annually since 2005, and there is no local match.
Thank you. Chief, your team.
To the chair, this grant is similar to the Recovery Ohio, except in the fact that there's a City of Cleveland vehicle that'll come, for the undercover vehicle, that'll be assigned to a Cleveland police detective, and also the $30,000 for the overtime for partner agencies. A lot of times these officers from these other departments come in and they're perhaps doing an investigation inside the City of Cleveland, and we have to find the time to pay them overtime as well at times. So this helps provide for that.
Just out of curiosity, are these other officers have to comply with our consent decree when they come in from other cities and do actions? Because I know we've been really trying to get Shaker and Cleveland to have some cooperative agreements, and I keep hearing that the holdup is somehow the consent decree.
So to the chair, when they're under a task force, they're normally assigned to like the FBI or so they're covered under that umbrella. They're not working under the umbrella of the Cleveland Police during these investigations. So no, they don't.
Interesting. And how many people do we have assigned to these task force?
To the chair, we have 4 detectives assigned to the task force and myself, sergeant.
Chief, I got a question for you offline, but I'll wait till offline to have that question for you. All right? Thank you. Any other questions?
Through the chair to the council, I just wanted to thank everyone been coming in front of you for years, getting these grants. And this year's unique in that we have some really good news that I wanted to share. Our overdose deaths in October 2023, we were up to 281 in the city of Cleveland. And in 2024, although it's still unfortunate, we are at 147 overdose deaths. So we've seen a almost 48% decrease in overdose deaths in the year 2024 compared to 2023. And we have not seen anything like that in the past year since I've been involved here. So I think that's something to note, and that's due to the great work of the task forces, our narcotics unit, and our treatment partners and recovery partners that we work together with these grants for outreach. So I just want to thank everyone for their support.
I got a couple of different questions. I see a few hands popping up. I have Councilman Polensek as the chair first, and then McCormick, Santana,
Thank you.
Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, and to the administration. We heard the piece in detail, at length, discussed it. Again, this is a grant that we have received over the years, as long as that I can recall, and it's something that we have historically been very supportive of. And again, to hear that overdose deaths are down is very, very encouraging. So we wholeheartedly supported it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. I got freaked out because I saw them here and I thought they were here with the county. And I was like, don't tell me we lost these guys to the county, chief. So, no, I'll just be brief. I want to thank you both and your teams that do really good work on behalf of the citizens of the city of Cleveland. Fully support this legislation. I know how effective these task force can be, and I know that you guys put in odd hours, a lot of time away, and a lot of that kind of stuff. So know that our residents in the city of Cleveland that we hear from in block clubs and neighborhood groups, whether you hear it or not, they appreciate you every day, and they appreciate the work that you're doing in our neighborhoods to make it safer. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Santana.
Very brief. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, through the, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Kevin Kincaid. I'm the interim commander of the Bureau of Special Services.
Got it. Okay. Do you have this data broken out and per district? I would love to see the hot spots for overdose, because I know at one point, every time I was driving around my neighborhood, there was someone that was overdosed on a sidewalk. So I'm curious to know if you have them by district or even by ward.
Through the chair to the council, we do have intelligence maps listing overdose hotspots. We can talk to our partners and get that to you.
Okay, we'd love to
I
get
don't think it will go down as far as ward, but certainly
even
districts.
district, or even areas, because in that way, it'll help council members to advocate for more resources. And we know, right, like I have a non-bilingual ward at sometimes, so the resources could be a little bit scarce. And so anyhow, just want to know if my area is still in that hotspot area.
Get information for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is similar to Councilwoman Santana's. I think in the past, we've actually had a breakdown by zip code. So whatever is the way to approximate where we have the hot spots and which zip codes or areas are experiencing the highest overdoses would be helpful. Just a comment through the chair, council offices also try to coordinate with partners providing outreach and education about prevention of overdoses, and it would just help us to know where those hotspots are. So thank you very much. And I had one more question through the chair, which was related to really wanting to educate myself. I know that fentanyl has been, for many years, a huge driver of overdoses and overdose deaths. It's my understanding there's a new drug, and I'm not remembering the name of it, but that has become much more prevalent. And it can't be treated with Narcan. It's a different type of treatment, and I'm curious if anyone knows what I'm referring to, just as trying to make sure I understand what's going on.
Through the chair to council, that you may be thinking of xylazine, which is a analog or type narcotic that's being added to a lot of the street drugs. It has been known to be resistant to Narcan. And has contributed to some overdose deaths. Off the top of my head, without lab results, I can't say how prevalent it's actually been here in Cleveland, but I do know for a fact that we have received positive results for that from some of our seizures.
Through the chair, I'm sorry, I missed the last part. Positive results from seniors?
From some of the narcotic seizures.
Oh, seizures.
Such
Okay.
as if it goes tested to the lab and they break it down as to what they found in it, and there have been recovered narcotics that have xylazine in it.
Okay, and then final question through the chair. Is xylazine something that is coming, how is it coming into our system? What's the source of xylazine that we know of through the chair?
Through the chair to council, as far as we know, the xylazine's being added in different phases of the trafficking networks, whether that's to add weight, make a product go longer. If one person gets a pound and they want to turn it into 3 pounds, they cut it with different mixtures and different chemicals to make that drug go farther and turn a larger profit for them. So that's where I believe that the xylazine is being added, but we don't have any, research telling us exactly at what point the xylazine is being added.
Thank you. And then do we know what the source is? I feel like for fentanyl, we have a good sense of what countries it's coming from. Is xylazine, is the source known? Or is it domestic? Through the chair.
Through the chair to the council, that I don't have that answer
Okay.
right now.
Was just
That-
curious.
I know that our primary source of narcotics is trafficked from the southwestern border up through Cleveland. And as far as at what stage of that certain things are added or included into the mixture, I can't speak to that today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you all so much. Any other questions regarding ordinance number 1116-2024?
If I can, to the chair, to the council member, I will get the information through zip code, is what it is.
Oh, the zip
We'll
code,
provide
yeah.
it through zip code.
And Mr. Chair, may I just add, this is very important work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next up is ordinance number 1010-2024 by council members Hairston, Bishop, Griffin, and Polinsky by departmental request. An emergency ordinance approving the report. Councilman, ask her the question that I asked. Approving the report on the easement equalization board on objections concerning estimated assignments to design, inspect, reconstruct, repair, and/or install roadways, sidewalks, driveway aprons, curbs, including adjustments of castings and landscaping if necessary, encroaching upon the public right-of-way on Euclid Beach Boulevard, entire street, and East 159th from Euclid Beach Boulevard to Lakeshore Boulevard, determining to proceed with the improvements and adopting the equalized assessments. Director.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. So the assessment process for a roadway assessment is quite lengthy. This is the last step before City Council before we can move into construction. So the last time we were at City Council, we appointed members of the Assessment Board of Equalization, which is an independent body that basically decides that the proportionate amount of the assessment for the roadway reconstruction is fair and equal. And so that body met on August 13th, and they found that the assessed values were fair and equal. And so we are passing this piece of legislation with your approval to confirm their findings. That'll allow us to go into construction in the springtime. And then we'll come back to City Council for more legislation to set the exact dollars for each property owner once the construction is completed. So we're seeking approval to move forward with this final step before we can go into construction.
All right, Councilman Hairston, Councilman Bishop.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we vetted this in municipal service, fully supported.
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Polinsky, I was going to pass it over
Okay.
to you for the final word,
Okay.
but I like to always check in with the chair. Councilman Hairston, ordinance number 1010-24. All right, Councilman Polinsky. Polinsky Day, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is East 159th Street, north of Lakeshore Boulevard, which provides access to three senior high-rises and a nursing home. The road was never built to city specifications. It's in terrible condition, and this legislation will assess the improvements upon the adjacent property owners to make those enhancements, to cover the cost of widening the roadway and building it properly to code, so we can access it with our fire trucks, our EMS vehicles, and everybody else. This is a highly trafficked area, but again, was never built to city specifications, and this will correct those mistakes from a very, very long time ago. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Happy to see you finally get this done. I know you've been working on all of this for a long time. It's Polinsky Day, Collinwood Day.
That's right.
City Council, getting some stuff done today. All right, any other questions? Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1010-2024 stands approved.
Thank
Please
you.
sign on. Thank you. Public Works. Ordinance number 838-2024 by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the directors of public works and capital projects to convey and grant various easements to the Ohio Department of Transportation at a city-owned property within the Garfield Park Reservation in the city of Garfield Heights for the purpose of replacing the Broadway Avenue South Route 14 bridge and declaring the easement rights no longer needed for the city's public use. Director.
Thank you, Chair. And I have with me Commissioner DeGennaro and also Sean McDermott from Metro Parks. And given the complexity of this issue, I'd like to have Commissioner explain what's going on with these easements.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. So the legislation would authorize the Director of Public Works to grant various easements to ODOT that are needed for the replacement of the Broadway Avenue Bridge. The bridge will be replaced with a much shorter span bridge, including a 14-foot wide multi-use trail that's being installed as part of the project. It is being constructed by and 100% funded by ODOT. The project is located in Garfield Reservation, which is leased by the city to Cleveland Metro Parks. I have to my left Sean McDermott, who's the Chief Planning and Design Officer at Cleveland Metro Parks, who can answer any questions after the presentation here. So we've determined that the best way to grant these easements is by permanent highway easement as opposed to a fee simple conveyance due to the lease. There are several easements that are needed, including 3 permanent highway easements totaling approximately 2 acres, which are needed for construction of the bridge, installation of earthen slopes on either side of the bridge, and also a bioswale for stormwater management. There is a utility easement that's needed for electric line replacement or relocation as part of the bridge project. It's 0.047 acres in size. And there's also a temporary construction easement that's needed for grading and access to the work area of approximately 0.081 acres in size. The temporary easement is for a duration of 18 months, and the permanent highway easement and utility easements are perpetual in duration. The Garfield Park Reservation is maintained under the lease by Cleveland Metro Parks, and Metro Parks has approved of the project. There won't be any interference with any of the activities in the park, and safe access will be maintained throughout the duration of construction. In addition, the city has agreed to gift the proceeds from the sale of the easements to Cleveland Metro Parks to be deposited into a restricted account to be used for the continued maintenance and improvement to the park. The sale of the easements will be at a appraised value of $142,400. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hairston and Councilman Bishop. Municipal Services and DPS.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we heard this piece of legislation in municipal service. We fully support it.
Thank you. Councilman Hairston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. DPS did support this piece. However, you know that there were some conversations around using the easement dollars for other city-owned parks to enhance and beautify them. Out of that conversation, I think Mr. McDermott and Councilman Jones had a good conversation here in committee, and we'll be working together to continue their conversation. What made a difference also was that the actual Garfield Reservation is City of Cleveland's property, that like we have in Warrensville and other places where it's our land, but it's within another city proper, and there's partnership, in those areas. That is the same thing that is happening here at the Garfield Reservation. So that made a difference, knowing that it is still City of Cleveland's property, and the Metro Parks maintains a long-term lease on the property for upkeep and maintenance as well. So DPS did support this piece. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number. Councilman Bishop.
Mr. Chairman, to the gentleman, are you from the Metro Parks?
Yeah.
To the chair. Yes, I'm Sean McDermott, Chief Planning and Design Officer, Cleveland Metro Parks.
Okay, through the chair, have you guys had your grand opening for the new center over there at this time yet?
Through the chair. We have. We've invested nearly $10 million into the Garfield Park Reservation recently, and yes, we have We've opened the new Garfield Park Center and the trails, the pond restoration, stream restoration, et cetera.
Greg, so the ribbon cutting has been held already?
Correct, sir.
Okay. You guys failed to invite me to that?
I am not sure. I can go back and look, but I do know that being in the city of Garfield Heights, and I might be losing my mic here, but being in the city of Garfield Heights, we typically invite those who are like the mayor of Garfield Heights and other officials as well. Apologize if we overlooked your specific invitation.
Yeah,
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, but just let me say this, Mr. McDermott.
Yes, sir.
This is a partnership. This is about the third time, and I've talked with Mr. Zimmerman as well. A lot of these are partnerships that are more region-wide, especially these kind of projects when we're actually putting in city money. So please keep that in mind, that there should always be recognition from municipal services and DPS and council president whenever these kind of opportunities arrive.
Absolutely.
Okay? All right, thank you. Councilman Hairston.
And I'm glad you added that because we had the same issue at 55th Marina where there was a groundbreaking in my ward. I did not receive an invite. And I talked to the county executive and said something to Mr. Zimmerman as well. Everybody puts it off on everybody, right? Oh, this part, Debbie should have did it. The Metro Park should have did it. Everybody points fingers. But when we can be reached when folks want something, right? And this is not just for Metro Parks, this is for everybody. When they want something, we can be reached then. But when something is going on, and to include your partners, like as City Council is, City Council is one of your greatest and your biggest partners that any one of these organizations can have around the county, right? You can't do anything without Cleveland City Council. It's very little that you can do without us and our approval and our support, our budgeting and so forth. And so it would be, just as a courtesy, right? Just to invite your partners, right? Making sure that you all are leasing the land from us, right? You are maintaining the property. So at the end of the day, I believe that it is your responsibility to ensure that Councilman Bishop or Councilman Joe Jones are a part of whatever is happening in that Garfield Reservation. Although technically in the city limits of Garfield Heights, but it's also land that we own, that City of Cleveland own land. Same thing if it was in the Warrensville, Beechwood, Green, that whole area up there, something's going on that Joe Jones would be and Councilman Bishop would be invited to participate. And so as the council president said, he has had more than one conversation with not only Metro Parks, but other entities, that we can't continue this. Either we're going to be partners or we're not, right? And partners, work along with each other in such a way. And so thank you, Mr. McDermott. I know you understand that, and I appreciate
On that point,
your
Mr. Chairman.
response. Yes, thank you.
Councilman Bishop.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on that point, what Councilman Harrison said, that I just recently supported a PIF to allow the Metro Parks to acquire some land over there on the back side of the park side, where the city of Cleveland, where it goes to the city of Cleveland. So we are in ongoing partnerships, I thought, with the Metro Parks. Okay, I just wanted to make that clear because I know that it's in Garfield, but it's still, Metro Parks have called my office many a times and asked for support in various projects over the years. And I do feel like the park is part of my community because my community uses the park so much, and I use the park also. So for me not to be invited, I think I hope it was just an oversight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, we will do a better job at that, yes, and both oversights. So thank you very much. I apologize.
All right. Any other questions regarding ordinance number 838-2024? Seeing no other questions, please sign on. Thank you. All right. This is a council piece, and this is by Council Member Moore. An emergency ordinance to amend the title of Chapter 352 and Section 35201 of Codified Ordinances of the City of Cleveland as amended by ordinance number 3077-A89 passed June 17, 1991, and to supplement the codified ordinances by enacting new Section 352.13 relating to lighting requirements for outdoor parking lots. Attorney O'Leary. Please proceed.
Through the chair to the council. This ordinance enacts new codified ordinance, section 352.13, to require lighting standards in all outdoor parking lots with 10 or more spaces. During non-daylight hours, outdoor parking lots must be illuminated with 1 to 2.5 candles, as recommended by the Illuminating Engineering Society. The purpose of this ordinance is to provide adequate lighting for the safety of residents and pedestrians, and also to prevent crime and accidents. This is a zoning ordinance, so it will be enforced when new permit plans are submitted for review by the Building and Housing Department and the City Planning Commission. Building and Housing can also inspect complaints for noncompliance and issue a violation notice to bring outdoor parking lots into compliance with these requirements. The penalty for violating this requirement is a first-degree misdemeanor, which is up to a $1,000 fine and 180 days in jail if that is, if they don't comply and fix the notice. A tool to enforce this is an illuminance meter that measures light illumination levels. And I have more, but we'll just answer questions.
Thank you. Councilwoman Moore.
Thank you very much, Council President. I appreciate the chance to be here today after hearing this and having a really great, robust conversation in DPS. I will share the story that I will probably share it if we're so lucky as to pass it out of finance. I'll share it again this evening from the floor of City Council, that this bill came about as a result of a fantastic group of seniors that I have living in an apartment building at 7050 Broadway Avenue, whose absentee landlords have not always been the friendliest to them. After fighting a 31-day elevator breakdown that left a number of these residents stranded, they came together and wanted to make their apartment better. They wanted better conditions. And when I asked them what their first goals were, the number one thing they came back to me with was their parking lot. Their parking lot is not very well lit. And when I started working with them to figure out and talk with the landlord's response was, how do you know? How do you know it's not that well lit? These are seniors. How are we supposed, maybe they just can't see as well at night, but I think the parking lot is illuminated perfectly fine. And I went looking, and what I found is that there are plenty of cities, Columbus, Toledo, Dublin, Ohio, that have put in a unit of measurement called a foot candle. And a foot candle is a way of measuring how bright a room is. It's not the brightness of the bulb itself, because obviously that is going to differ based on how much space it's illuminating. But the foot candle is the measurement of the light that we all experience here on the ground. And so I bought this handy dandy little illuminance meter off of Amazon for a mere $30 or $40. And I took it out to the apartment complex late at night. And it's a useful device. You uncap it, and then it reads the light that's coming in, whether it's from the sun or from light bulbs. And what I saw was that other cities, and what Council O'Leary helped me research, was that other cities use this international standard of 1 to 2.5 foot candles for parking lots at night. And obviously we don't want those lights like going up and creating light pollution. We still want that light coming down onto the parking lot. And when I went out to that parking lot at night, wouldn't you know, most of it was under 1 foot candle, and there were large portions of it that read as 0.05 foot candles illumination. And I was happy to get Channel 5 came out with me to record us using this meter, walking around, showing just how dark it was. And thankfully that was enough to get this landlord to improve the illumination for this one particular residence. But I was so moved by these residents and felt like we needed to codify this standard so that we didn't have to rely on pleas and thank yous to a landlord, but rather that new construction, or as Attorney O'Leary, I'm sure will be happy to discuss, if you substantially change your lighting and you essentially have to come back for a new review of your lighting standard, you now have a written definition in our zoning code that matches the international standard. This is a safety issue, helps prevent crime at night, helps our seniors, our residents, because it applies to any parking building, parking lot with more than 10 spaces. It'll help people all over the city, and I'm very proud to have worked with Jen to shepherd this through this process through to now.
First of all, thank you, Councilwoman. This is a very, very creative piece of legislation. I would like to ask you if I could be a part of it, if I could add my name to it.
I'd be honored.
All right,
Thank you, Council President.
I too have a couple of senior buildings that have lighting issues, and unfortunately, these landlords just get dug in and don't want to make the fixes. So I don't always like to legislate accountability, but in this instance, we have to, because if you don't make people do this, they're not going to do it. And I think this is a good piece of legislation. It's fair, and it makes people do what they're supposed to do to keep our seniors safe. We have people getting cars broken in regularly because of poor lighting and blind spots at apartment buildings. I only wish, which I don't think we can go further, but I only wish that we can mandate cameras too, because some of these folks are just negligent in how they're monitoring their property. So very good creative piece of legislation.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I would
Councilman
ask to be, of the sponsor, I'd ask to be added as well. I think it's an excellent piece of legislation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilman Pawonsek.
Thank you. Councilwoman Santana.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I also commend Councilwoman Moore. We definitely have those new apartments, and I wish we could go backwards and have these new apartment buildings get, abide by this legislation. But I forgot to ask, and I was talking to some council members that asked, does this abide by, to city parks? Any Cleveland city park?
Through the chair, the councilwoman, no, this just includes outdoor parking lots. in the
Okay, but
zoning
let's just
code.
say our parks have parking, right, spaces, and they have to change a bulb, Roberto Clemente, right, for instance. Will they have to abide by this?
Sure, it's an
Yeah.
outdoor parking lot.
So-
I wasn't thinking of parking lots, I was thinking parks.
Okay.
So any parking
Parks.
lot
Okay.
that's outdoor would have to.
So that it's
I mean, of
linked up
course,
to
it's
our
kind of
parks.
regulating ourselves and, yeah.
But even if it's regulating ourselves, would that, once again, they would
Yeah,
have
we
to
should
abide by
abide
this?
by the laws that, that we require of other
Okay.
people.
So the city
Yes.
will have a misdemeanor if they don't
It's just,
abide
that's
by
the point,
law.
is this building a housing in a site, the city?
Okay.
Or, are we going before plan review, before city planning commission, all of that? But
Got
yeah,
it,
that would
okay,
be-
thank you. Well, congratulations, that would also, Councilwoman would
Chairman.
love to be added. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I have Councilman Kevin Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is for, you say parking lots? So if we have a parking lot in a convenience store, are we going to be, is that enforceable?
Yes.
Okay,
The chair
so,
to the councilman.
so any parking lot, no matter
Any
what
out-
it's for?
Any outdoor parking lot, it's not restricted to different, it's not restricted to residential or commercial, it's any outdoor parking lot, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Any other questions regarding ordinance number 639-2024?
Council President, I'll just add that for any council members, this will stay in my office. If any of you want to borrow it to go check your parking lots, please borrow it.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the good work, Attorney O'Leary.
Thank you, Council President.
Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 639-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. All right, that is it. Remember, this Finance, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee will not be meeting next week. We will be out. Therefore, this committee is adjourned to the next call of the chair, which is Monday, November the 18th. Monday, November the 18th. This committee is adjourned.